I'd like you to take a closer look at the sequence of events in the fall and to see how you relate those to the triangle.
The serpent was the craftiest of all creatures the Lord God had made. So the serpent came to the woman. Really, he asked, none of the fruit in the garden? God says you mustn't eat any of it. Of course we may eat it, the woman told him. It's only the fruit from the tree at the center of the garden that we are not to eat. God says we mustn't eat it or even touch it, or we will die.
So what was being questioned there? What side of the triangle was that question about?
The side where people relate to God.
Stewardship would have to be involved there too.
Think about the question. It's something to do about not taking fruit. Now, what is that a question about?
The ownership.
Only the owner has got the opportunity or the right to say you can't eat of this fruit. So that was a question about ownership. Then the next sequence is in verse 6.
The woman saw how beautiful the tree was and how good its fruit would be to eat, and she thought how wonderful it would be to become wise. So she took some of the fruit and ate it. Then she gave some to her husband, and he also ate it.
Josias, what side of the triangle is that a question about?
I would say the side relating to people on the earth.
The stewardship side.
That's right.
They took and they ate, an action of stewardship. Verses 7 to 10, Harsha.
And as they ate it, suddenly they became aware of their nakedness and were embarrassed. So they strung fig leaves together to cover themselves around the hips. That evening they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden, and they hid themselves among the trees. The Lord God called to Adam, "Why are you hiding?"
Well, can we all see what side of the triangle is affected there?
The relationship between God and people.
Yeah.
The relationship side. So we have this sequence, ownership, stewardship and relationship, being affected by sin in that particular sequence. Now we do need to be careful in dividing the fall into segments like this. The willingness of the woman to listen to the serpent suggests that something might have already been wrong with her relationship with God. We shouldn't divide life into separate compartments. But it is important for we who are evangelicals to see that more than the relationship side was involved in the fall. The consequences of the fall were also holistic. And this is reflected in God's responses in Genesis 3:14 to 24. The effects include, on the left-hand side, verses 14 to 15, a spiritual battle between the seed of the woman and the serpent. And this affected the relationship side. You see, the seed of the woman is a reference to Jesus. Then along the base, in verses 16 to 20, we have physical, relational and emotional effects on the woman and the man. This is affecting the stewardship side. Then on the right-hand side, in verses 21 to 24, there is banishment from the garden. This is a decision of the Creator affecting the ownership side. Now, this is where the human race struck trouble. It's as if Satan grasped the triangle and he claimed it for himself. He turned it upside down. He usurped God's lordship. And ever since then, he's falsely professed to have the power of God's lordship for himself. So the result of the fall is a world of pain and suffering. Now, the first 3 chapters of Genesis really set the foundation for our understanding of holistic ministry. Years ago, I read an article by Ed Dayton, the best short piece I know on evangelism and development by an evangelical. You'll find it in the study guide. Now, Ed wrote one sentence that really made me think. For several years I wasn't sure if I agreed with it or not. I wonder, what do you think?